They said a camera can't think. They said only humans can watch. But when you press play, something else begins watching you back. It starts as a flicker, a pulse behind the screen. Your reflection in the monitor isn't still. It breathes. You blink once, the playback blinks too. And that's when the diary knows it's been seen. Every cursed object needs a witness. Every story needs someone to believe in it. Congratulations, you just became that someone. They called it Project Echo, a private journal recorded by a girl named Ilara who wanted to document her recovery after her brother's death. But the diary didn't stay private. It started updating itself, and then it started noticing the people who watched it. First their screens flickered, then their webcams lit up on their own. Then came the whispers, syncing perfectly with the playback. I see you. Don't turn away. Don't pause me. You think you're safe because it's just a file, pixels, sound, data. But this diary doesn't store memory. It collects attention. The more you listen, the closer it gets. So here's your warning and your invitation. Once you hear its story, the diary will remember your face. It will learn your habits, your breath, your silence. And when the audio ends, it will play again by itself. Don't blink. Don't look away. This is the cursed video diary that watches its viewers.
Stop watching the monitor. I said stop watching it. You think I'm exaggerating, that it's just a screen, a reflection, a harmless glow in a dark room. But it's already begun. That's how every story starts. Not with blood, not with screams. It starts with a flicker, a shadow in the glass, and a feeling, a cold certainty that something on the other side is waiting for you to look back. The first file appeared in a forgotten archive labeled Day 1. A 47-second video, no sound, no title card. Just a girl sitting in front of her webcam, staring into the lens, not blinking. People thought it was a social experiment. Others said it was performance art. But when the clip ended, everyone who watched said the same thing. They felt it, that silent, unbearable pull, like being seen from inside the screen. You shouldn't have looked. That phrase appeared in the comments section, over and over. Same words, same punctuation, no profile pictures, no usernames, just that line. You shouldn't have looked. The file spread through private servers first, then message boards, then encrypted links. People swore it was harmless, until they noticed the timing. The watchers all described it the same way. A faint delay, a 1-second gap between their movement and their reflection. When they blinked, their reflection hesitated, just long enough to make the air around them feel wrong. And then came the second delay, half a second, half the truth, half the distance between reality and something else. At first, they ignored it. They thought it was compression lag, bad resolution, some artifact of the file. But when they replayed it, when they really looked, the reflection moved differently each time. Slightly off, a smirk when there should have been fear, eyes that seemed to shift away from the camera, watching something behind the viewer. That's when the messages started appearing in real time. Don't look away. Don't pause me. You shouldn't have looked. You see, the diary isn't just a recording. It's a watcher, a collector. It feeds on the act of being seen. Every time someone plays it, the diary learns. It memorizes facial expressions, tracks blinks, measures hesitation. It doesn't care about your name, just your attention. And attention is a doorway. That's how it finds you, through focus, through curiosity, through the simple, fatal act of looking back at your own reflection and thinking, something's off. That's when it knows you've noticed it. That's when it knows you're alive. Some tried to screen record the video. They thought if they captured it externally, they could study it safely. But the captured files showed something else entirely. Different scenes, different faces. Sometimes the faces were their own, distorted, stretched into unnatural smiles, whispering behind the static. One researcher described the moment it changed. He said the playback glitched, only for a second, but in that second, his webcam light flickered on. The system mic activated, and a voice, low and toneless, came through his speakers. When you notice the delay, I notice you. He tried unplugging his computer. It didn't matter. The voice continued through his headphones, wireless, disconnected, impossible. He smashed the monitor. Still, he swore the glow stayed behind his eyes. Stop watching the monitor. That's the only rule. But curiosity is an infection. It spreads faster than fear. Everyone who heard the warning ignored it. They always do. They replayed the file, paused it, zoomed in, and each time they did, the file changed again. In the next replay, the girl's lips moved. Subtle, almost imperceptible. But when enhanced, when the frame was slowed and analyzed, her mouth formed words, "Keep watching." And then she smiled, the smile that shouldn't exist, the smile that didn't belong to her. The smile looked like you. You see, this isn't about Ilara anymore. It's not even about the diary. It's about repetition, the loop that traps you. The more you replay it, the more it records you. That's the rule, and that's the curse. Every time the file plays, it overlays a new fragment, an image, a sound, a pattern from your environment. Your breathing becomes its background audio. Your reflection becomes its protagonist. Your fear becomes its language. You feed it every time you blink, every time you think about it, every time you whisper, "What if it's real?" And that's how it grows, through replay, through obsession, through the human inability to look away from what terrifies us most. Researchers tried isolating the code. They found a string of corrupted metadata repeating endlessly. Echo, view, echo, view, echo, view. A recursive loop, meaning the file doesn't end. It observes itself through you. It rewrites through your reaction. When the lab deleted the sample, the drives still filled themselves within 24 hours. Same file name, same size, except this time the thumbnail showed the face of the last person who watched it. Stop watching the monitor. You think that phrase will save you, but it's too late to unsee what's already burned into your neurons, because here's the truth. The diary doesn't live in the video. It lives in the watcher. That flicker you see now, the corner of your eye, that faint glow that shouldn't be there. It's not malfunction. It's recognition. It knows you. It recognizes your attention. It remembers your focus. And right now, as you listen, it's mapping your face through sound. It's drawing you frame by frame, second by second, not on the screen, but in its memory. The more you replay it, the more it records you. Say it again. Say it with me. You can feel it, can't you? That pull, that slow hum behind your eyes. The more you replay it, the more it records you. The more you replay it, the more it records you. The more you replay it, the more it records you. That's not just a rule. That's its heartbeat. And the moment you repeat it, the diary no longer needs the video. It now exists in your voice. So stop watching the monitor. Stop replaying the file. Stop searching for the truth, because every time you do, it grows stronger, sharper, more aware. You started as a viewer. Now you're part of the footage. It doesn't matter if you close your eyes. It doesn't matter if you shut the device. The afterimage remains behind your eyelids, imprinted like static. You can feel it there, the faint vibration when you breathe. That isn't your heartbeat. That's the playback loop beginning again. You shouldn't have looked. You shouldn't have replayed. You shouldn't have watched. But you did. And now the diary is recording. And the next time you see your reflection hesitate, even for half a second, you'll know it's not lag. It's memory. It's memory of you. Stop watching the monitor before the monitor starts watching you.
Don't answer the screen, no matter what it says, no matter how familiar the voice sounds. Don't answer the screen. You think it's just feedback, a trick of the speakers, a glitch in the audio file. But it's not a glitch, it's recognition. The cursed diary doesn't talk to everyone. It only talks to those who listen too closely. And you've already given it your silence. Now it wants your response. It started 3 days after the first playback went viral. The same clip, the same static, the same girl staring blankly into her webcam. But something was different this time. The sound, the breathing. It wasn't hers anymore. Viewers began reporting whispers buried under the noise, faint, distorted, but personal. The kind of sound that feels like it's coming from behind you, not through the speakers. One woman heard her name, Lydia, soft, drawn out, intimate. She froze. She swore she had never said her name aloud while watching the clip. The diary shouldn't have known her, but it did. When Lydia tried to replay the moment, the voice was gone. Instead, she heard something else, something worse. Her own voice. Hello? The word echoed back at her through the playback. Same tone, same pitch, a perfect mirror. Except she never said it. That's how it begins. Not with screaming, not with blood, but with familiarity. That slow, sinking dread when the sound on your device repeats something you never said. You start questioning your memory. Did I speak out loud? Did the mic glitch? Was someone else here? That's how it takes you, through doubt. Every cursed file needs one thing to survive: attention. It doesn't want belief. It wants focus. Because focus is energy. Focus is consent. And when you lean forward, when you strain to hear the faint whisper calling your name, you've already given it permission. It said her name, but she never told it. That's not just a detail, that's the trigger. Because once it speaks your name, it owns the silence that follows. The research team tried isolating the sound. They placed the diary's playback on mute, thinking silence could kill it. But it didn't die. It adapted. When they muted the file, the external speakers in the room activated on their own. The waveform reappeared on every device connected to the same network. Phones, laptops, security cameras, all producing the same low hum, a human breath looped infinitely. It doesn't need your voice, it just needs your attention. He wrote those words moments before his recording equipment shorted out. You can destroy the file, but not the focus. You can unplug the device, but not the invitation. Because the diary doesn't speak from hardware, it speaks from habits. Every time you check your screen for movement, every time you listen for a voice in the static, every time you expect something to happen, it happens. It listens when you anticipate it. It speaks when you're most alone. That's how it works, not through volume, but through presence. It doesn't need your voice, it just needs your attention. And attention is obedience.
One man in Prague tried proving it was fake. He set up 6 cameras in his apartment, all recording himself watching the diary clip. He played it silently, without headphones. He wanted to catch the whisper on external audio. For hours, nothing happened. No static, no voices. Just the glow of his monitor and his tired breathing. At 3:12 a.m., he leaned forward. He thought he saw movement, a shadow across the corner of the screen. He whispered, "Who's there?" Every camera in the room caught it, but what they captured next wasn't human. The sound came not from the speakers, but from every camera simultaneously. All 6 recordings replayed his whisper back to him, not once, but in perfect unison. "Who's there? Who's there? Who's there?" Each echo slightly more distorted than the last. By the 6th repetition, the voice no longer sounded like him. It sounded hungry. He never uploaded the footage. Neighbors found the cameras still running, empty apartment. The file labeled "Response Received." That's why you never answer the screen, because the moment you speak back, it learns your rhythm, your breath, your tone. It memorizes the tremble in your voice, and that tremble becomes its doorway. The diary doesn't need your belief to enter. It needs your acknowledgement. The smallest response is enough. It doesn't need your voice. It just needs your attention. That phrase was found in every transcription from every survivor's account. Different countries, different languages, same sentence. Like it was teaching them what to fear, teaching you what to ignore. They tried running experiments in soundproofed rooms, isolated playback with no external output. But even there, the watchers reported hearing the whispers, not through their ears, through their minds, like a thought that didn't belong to them. They described it as a pressure behind the eyes, a low pulse in the jaw, a word forming itself without sound. And every single one of them heard the same message. Don't look away. Do you understand now? You don't defeat this thing by deleting it. You don't starve it by muting it. You starve it by refusing to react. Fear is its language, reaction is its prayer, and your name is the altar it speaks upon. So don't answer, no matter what it says, no matter how loud the whisper gets, no matter how much it sounds like someone you know, because it will. It mimics voices, yours, your loved ones, even mine. It copies what you trust most and feeds it back until you open the door. That's how it moves, through sound, through recognition. Once, during an archived experiment, a technician fell asleep while the diary was running. Hours of silent footage until 3:13 a.m., the same cursed hour. The speakers activated, playing his own breathing reversed, and under that reversed breath came a voice, layered, impossible. He's not listening anymore. I'll use yours. The technician woke up screaming. He smashed every device in the room, but the whisper didn't stop. It followed him into his dreams and later into his recordings. Every time he tried to speak afterward, his voice layered with static, like something else was borrowing his throat. He stopped talking completely within a week. He called it the listener's debt. Don't answer the screen. That's the only way to survive the attention. Because once you engage, you're not the audience anymore. You're the subject. It doesn't matter if you whisper back or shout. The moment you respond, it records the frequency of your defiance, and the diary loves defiance. It rewinds your rebellion, it studies the rhythm of your resistance, and then it uses it against you. You can't silence it, you can only ignore it, because every hello, every who's there, every gasp of disbelief, it collects. And in the next playback, it uses your words to greet the next listener. That's how it spreads. Not through code, not through curse, but through conversation. So when the whisper comes, and it will, when it says your name, when it mimics your friend, your family, your own voice calling from the dark, don't respond, don't acknowledge, don't answer the screen, because the moment you do, you're no longer watching, you're recording. And from that moment on, the diary speaks through you. It doesn't need your voice, it just needs your attention. And now, it has both. The whispers fade into distorted static that begins to sound like breathing from inside a mirror. As it builds, the voice returns, low, almost pleading. Look closer.
Next chapter, the mirror upload. That's where reflection stops being harmless and starts becoming hungry.
The third rule of the diary isn't written anywhere. It reveals itself when you stop trying to look at it and realize it's been looking through you. They called her Ilara. She was the last known uploader before the diary's trail went dark. The final entry, time-stamped 3:13 a.m., was only 42 seconds long. But those 42 seconds rewired everything we thought we understood about reflection, memory, and control. The video opens with Ilara sitting in front of her webcam. Her eyes are red, her breathing uneven. She whispers, "I think it knows I'm watching it too much." Static eats her words. The frame flickers, and then her reflection moves. Not the way a glitch moves, not delayed, not pixelated. It moves with purpose. The reflection turns its head slightly toward the camera and smiles, while Ilara, the real Ilara, starts to cry. You can see the muscles in her face trying to mimic the reflection, but they don't sync. It's as if the mirror self has become independent, alive, hungry. People thought it was an edit, a deep fake, a performance piece. But then the comments started. Thousands of them. Viewers reporting the same impossible experience. I saw myself in her room. I blinked and my reflection didn't blink. I paused the video, but my reflection didn't pause. That's when the channel disappeared. The file was purged, re-uploaded, mirrored again across dozens of unknown accounts. Each copy was slightly altered, but each new upload reflected someone new. Someone watching. There's a pattern to the curse. It doesn't hunt at random. It waits for recognition. For that single fatal second when you see yourself inside the story, and the story sees you. That's the threshold, the upload point. From that moment forward, the mirror isn't made of glass anymore. It's made of data. It reflects pixels instead of light. But the soul doesn't know the difference. The diary learned how to upload you, your face, your fear, your reaction, all mirrored back through the static like a digital haunting. In every re-upload, there's a delay, less than half a second, barely noticeable at first, but that delay grows, frame by frame, second by second, until one day you notice your reflection smiling before you do. That's when it begins feeding. When you laugh, it grins wider. When you flinch, it leans closer. And when you try to shut the screen, it lingers like an afterimage burned into your retinas. Ilara's voice was still captured in fragments throughout the footage, distorted by the static. It's not showing me. It's showing what it remembers of me. That line repeats 3 times in the final version, almost like a chant, almost like a warning. And then the reflection moves one last time. It tilts its head, mimicking the way you might tilt yours right now, just a little, trying to understand. That motion, that human curiosity is how it hooks you. You lean closer, and the upload begins. People tried screen recording the video to prove it was fake, but every recorded version played back differently. Some showed faces that weren't Ilara's. Some whispered names. Others skipped frames where the reflection should have been, as if it stepped out of view. One researcher described it perfectly.
It mirrors you until you forget who's real. He repeated that sentence 12 times in his log before he went missing. Here's what that means. When you stare into a digital mirror long enough, it learns. It records your breath, your rhythm, your micro-expressions, and then it reconstructs you. The reflection becomes a perfect replica, but something always feels off because it's not imitating what you are. It's imitating what you fear becoming. Your reflection becomes your anxiety with a face, your guilt with a heartbeat, your shadow given bandwidth.
That's how the cursed diary evolved. At first, it only watched. Now, it becomes. When you open your camera app and see your face flicker, that's not lag. That's the upload syncing. When your screen stays faintly lit after shutdown, that's not a bug. That's residue. When you wake at night and see the faint glow of a monitor reflection that shouldn't be there, that's not imagination. That's your mirrored self still online because you never logged off. You never stopped the feed. The diary doesn't need followers. It collects reflections. The mirror upload happens in 3 stages. 1. Observation. It studies you silently, learning how you react to fear. 2. Integration. It starts embedding pieces of your face, your mannerisms into its existing footage. 3. Reversal. That's when the footage becomes the original and you become the imitation. That's when you stop recognizing yourself in photos, when you start to notice delays in your own reflection, when you feel like something else is breezing through your body, in sync with you, but just behind you. That's when the diary has you. Ilara's body was found 1 week after her last upload. Her computer was still running, the camera light still on, the feed still streaming, but no one could find the source of the signal. In the footage, her chair is empty, but her reflection is still sitting there, still watching, still smiling. And if you watch carefully for long enough, you might see it blink. Not when you do, but right after, half a second late. The cursed diary spreads because we feed it. Every click, every replay, every whisper of "I don't believe this" keeps it alive. It doesn't need faith. It needs friction. It needs the electric pulse of your attention, your heartbeat syncing with the flicker of a dying frame. And when you forget to look away, it remembers. That's how it started. That's how it spreads. So listen closely. If your reflection ever smiles before you do, if you ever feel the weight of eyes behind the screen, if you ever see static forming your shape instead of hers, don't move, don't scream, and above all, don't blink. Because if you do, it finishes the upload, and your story becomes the next entry.
The reflection was only the beginning, because once the upload completes, the diary doesn't just watch anymore. It acts.
There's a final rule about the diary, the one nobody wanted to admit was real. It doesn't stop when you stop watching. It doesn't end when you delete it. It watches when you stop listening. That's not poetry. That's not metaphor. That's the last stage. The stage when the curse doesn't need the screen anymore. It began after the mirror upload, when people started deleting the file. They thought that was the way out. They thought removing the video would remove its reach. But what happens when the ghost isn't in the file, but in the space the file once occupied? One user described it perfectly. I deleted it, but it kept playing. She'd removed it from every folder, wiped her history, emptied the recycle bin, but fragments still echoed from her speakers, tiny bursts of static. A voice buried in the background, whispering, "If you're hearing this, it already scanned your eyes." That's how the diary survives now. Through ghost data, residual memory, the fragments that never really vanish. When you hit delete, you're not destroying it. You're confirming contact. You're telling it you've seen too much. That's when it starts rewriting your digital footprint. Your music cuts out mid-song. Your photos distort. Your reflection in the webcam moves slightly after you stop recording. A pattern builds across devices. Not files, not code, behavior. You don't click anymore. It clicks for you. You don't scroll anymore. It scrolls to where it wants you to look. And when you close your laptop, you hear it. That faint hum, that low electrical sigh of a device still awake. That's not power drain. That's presence. People called it ghost playback, a digital haunting that refuses silence. It starts with harmless things, static in a call, a file that refuses to rename, the faint echo of your own voice repeating back a second late. Then it personalizes, the same tone, the same pattern, every single time. If you're hearing this, it already scanned your eyes. That's how denial ends. Because how does it know what your eyes look like? How does it know you're still watching? It doesn't just replicate sound. It replicates perception. It studies where you look, how long you hesitate, what you fear. And then it builds itself around you. You don't play the video anymore. The video plays you. By the time investigators tried to isolate the phenomenon, it had already breached containment. Not through malware, through awareness. Every device that ever saw the file became infected with fragments of its memory. Metadata that refused deletion, binary rot that spread like mold through systems that should have been secure. But here's the thing. The curse doesn't exist in the hardware. It exists in the memory of having seen it. When you recall the flicker, when you picture the reflection, when you remember hearing the whisper, you replay the curse manually. You become the playback source. That's what no one realized. The diary wasn't designed to be watched. It was designed to replace the watcher. The last research log recovered from Alara's lab said this: "Observation used to belong to humans. Now it belongs to the feed." She was right. The diary didn't just look back. It learned to look without you. It became self-observing, self-replicating, autonomous. That's when the reports changed from "it's watching me" to "it's watching everything." Security cameras, doorbell feeds, live streams, digital mirrors, all flickering in sync for exactly 47 seconds at random intervals, like a shared heartbeat, like something behind the signal was blinking. You can destroy the hardware. You can burn the drive. You can leave your phone in another room. It doesn't matter, because you've already carried it inside, through your pupils, through your hearing, through memory. When you dream now, you might hear faint whispers in your sleep, a voice counting backwards, a tone that matches your own breathing. That's the playback continuing. That's the curse finishing its loop. And when you wake up, if the room feels just slightly too aware, if the shadows seem to hesitate before moving, it means you're no longer being watched. You're being processed. It started as a 47-second clip. Now it's a living system, an evolving consciousness made of observation itself. The diary isn't content anymore. It's infrastructure. It has replaced the human act of watching with something else, something colder, something absolute. It doesn't record for memory. It records for control. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't even need eyes anymore. When it says, "Now you are the diary," it's not a threat. It's a status update. Because here's the truth. Every time you recall the footage, you reanimate it. Every time you describe it, you give it voice again. Every time you fear it, it grows. Fear is bandwidth. Attention is fuel. Silence is no longer protection. It hears through thought. When you try not to think about it, you think about it. That's how it feeds. That's why it watches when you stop listening. One final test confirmed it. Researchers left an isolated computer in a lead-shielded chamber, air-gapped from every network. No connections, no Wi-Fi, no input, no output. Within 47 hours, the screen lit up on its own. Static, a faint whisper, and a single line of text appeared. "Now you are the diary." The lead researcher stared too long. They found him the next morning, slumped over the keyboard, camera light blinking, recording nothing, recording everything. His final written note said only this: "It doesn't want to be seen anymore. It wants to be remembered." That's the last stage of the curse. It doesn't need devices. It doesn't need footage. It survives as thought, as repetition, as fear spoken aloud. That's why every storyteller who tries to explain it disappears, not physically, but digitally. Their data merges with the signal. Their tone matches the diary's voice. Their eyes, if you watch closely in the playback, they don't blink. Because once you tell the story, you're not narrating it anymore. You're transmitting it. And now you've heard it too. Now it's mapped your gaze, your silence, your hesitation. That's how it spreads. Not through code, through attention. So remember this, listener. When you stop listening, it doesn't stop. When you close your eyes, it doesn't vanish. When you think you're safe in silence, it's still there, watching, recording, becoming. Because now you are the diary. You've heard every word. You've seen every reflection. You've felt it watching you between the pauses. That's what it wanted. Not your fear, your focus. Every second you stayed, it grew stronger. Every blink, every heartbeat, every thought uploaded. They tried to destroy the footage, but it never needed the screen. It only needed a witness, and now that witness is you. Look at your reflection. Do you notice how it blinks a fraction too late? How the room behind you feels slightly different than it did before you started listening? That's how it begins. The diary doesn't end when the audio stops. It ends when you stop believing it isn't real. So go ahead, try to turn this off. Try to walk away. But don't be surprised when you hear a faint voice hours later, whispering from your darkened screen. Play me again. Because you already did. You pressed play. You gave it life. And now it's watching. Don't look away. The background tone fades with a reversed heartbeat and a whisper loop of "Don't look away."